All right. Our case for today.
Which trilogy committed the greater crime against the legacy of the original trilogy? Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams. And so what we're arguing in Geek Court today is a crime was committed. And who is the worst criminal in this? Is it George Lucas's prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3? Which is Steve is going to argue that those did the most damage. Or is it the sequels, J.J. Abrams, 7, 8, 9? How would you like to start since the prequels came first? I think.
All right, welcome to Original Geek. This is the all fandom podcast for sci-fi, fantasy, comics, and every pop culture obsession that built us. Whether you're Gen X, Millennial, or just geek curious, welcome to the basement. Hi, I'm Steve Scarfo.
And I'm Jeff Shaw, along with R2D2, and we'll be your Force Ghost advice for today's cryptic but essential guidance from the past as we talk Star Wars, and may the 4th be with you, OGs.
And also with you. I stole it from you. It's one of my favorite add-ons to the May the 4th be with you is the old Catholic.
If anyone
and also
that's Catholic.
You. Yes. If you are both a Jedi, if you're a Catholic Jedi, then that was the perfect joke for you. For the 9 of you who are also Catholics and Jedi. But yeah, this has been awesome. But we're going to jump right in because we are excited to talk about May the 4th.
It's the Basement Brief. It's the Basement Brief.
Yeah, and I have to admit that, I did not know about the origin until you did a little digging into where this May the 4th came from, other than a clever play on the words and the date, right?
I also, until I decided to dig, did not know, in fact, that this is not the first Star Wars Day, which is funny because the first usage of May the 4th be with you is actually just 2 years after the movie was released. And in 1977, the movie came out just 6 days before my 8th birthday. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But the first recorded use was in the UK. Margaret Thatcher had just been elected on May 4th. And somebody, one of the newspapers over there they ran a headline that said, "May the 4th be with you, Maggie." And that's really where it started, that this was just a joke headline that someone decided was a fun pun. And obviously in 1979, Star Wars was still pretty big. So somebody who obviously lived in London or was also a fan of Star Wars came up with a clever headline. And here we are some 45 or 6 years later.
Yeah, although I feel like for me, I didn't really start hearing it much until 15, 20 years ago.
Well, this is the deal. It was the first time it was used, but it didn't catch on right away. So May the 4th was, people liked it. It was a fan-driven sort of thing. People liked having it, but pardon me, the original Star Wars Day was May 25th because that was the day the movie was released. So on the anniversary of May 25th is when they would do Star Wars Day because it was the release of the movie. It got co-opted later and became Geek Pride Day because of, May 25th is apparently
Geek Pride
it's
Day?
Geek Pride Day.
I didn't know we had one.
We have a Geek Pride
goodness.
Day.
Is
goodness.
The Mandalorian? No, it's coming out before that.
No.
They should have lined that up. That's on Memorial Day, though.
Memorial Day. Hold on. I have a note here. Geek Pride Day. It got changed because there were releases of Doctor Who. There's not Doctor Who. Sorry. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy has a May 25th tie-in. And so it became the Hitchhiker's Day, and it became the Towel Day. If you're a Hitchhiker's Guide fan, you always have to be prepared. Always have your towel. And it sort of got co-opted, and so it was stopped being special for Star Wars. May 25th became Geek Pride Day. So if you didn't know we had a Geek Pride Day, we do. And it's just in a few weeks.
Is it still May 25th?
May 25th is, in fact, Geek Pride Day, which is new. But, yeah, it was, goodness. Yeah. And even in,
But hey, isn't every day Geek Pride Day with us? Steve?
with us, it is for sure. I mean, it lasted until the 90s, even in, when they re-released the special editions. Phantom Menace dropped on May 19th, May 25th, 97, 20 years later, they released it, and it was still May 25th.
Nice.
Yeah. I apparently took too many notes because I'm like, oh, there it is. The same year, May 25th, in 2007, it became Geek Pride Day because it's tied to Towel Day for Hitchhiker's Guide and Discworld. So that whole thing. So May 25th stopped being exclusive in 2007. In 2011 is when May 4th first organized in Toronto, had their first organized May the 4th Day. Producers Sean Ward and Alice Quinn put together an original trilogy trivia game show, costume contest with celebrity judges, fan screenings, mashups, parodies. They made it their first event in 2011. And then 2012, October of 2012, Disney bought Lucasfilm. And then like 7 or 8 months later, they really embraced the May the 4th. So it's kind of a cool evolution, not our geek evolution.
No.
We have other stuff for that. But just the fact that a crazy pun from 77, 50, 52 years ago.
Yeah.
This said somebody made in a newspaper headline. If I did the math wrong, I'm really sorry. I'm sure I did. But yeah, it's pretty cool that they took a pun and made it a holiday. It's actually an official holiday in California. They made it an actual holiday in California. When did they do that? 2019. 2019, California made it a law. So, May 2nd of 2019, California legislature officially declares May 4th as Star Wars Day. Not a fan thing, a real government-recognized holiday.
Wow.
So if you live in California, you have tomorrow off. Monday is it's your Memorial Day.
Really?
I don't know if it's actually a day they get off.
Okay. Just to recognize.
It's just
holiday.
yeah.
Okay.
Like Arbor Day, but for geeks.
Yeah, you can flex it.
Yes.
I celebrated May the 4th be with you early this past week in Boston. I went to see The Empire Strips Back.
Yes, and we are going to do, well, hold on. We're going to jump into our, listen, I say this every week. This is our random review coming up. And now, if you are in this part of the show, you know, because I always say this, that it's a separate segment. But if you are listening, you're going to hear that again in a minute, because I'm going to give crap to all the people who don't listen to the whole episode and tell them they should.
It's time for a random review.
All right, it's the original Geek Random Review. We set the topic, the dice set the direction. We know what we're reviewing, just not how. But today, it's different.
It's a one-way review.
It is it's a one-off. And I'm going to say this again. I said it a minute ago, but those of you who just like the reviews didn't hear it. This is part of a bigger show. Come back, see the whole show. We just did the basement brief. We're going to be moving on to other segments. Thanks for joining us for the review, but it is. Why are we doing a one-handed review this time, Jeff?
Well, we're using a one-handed review because you didn't go see The Empire Strips Back with me.
No, I would have liked to. I couldn't go.
So The Empire Strips Back, for those who do not know, is a burlesque show parody of Star Wars, specifically the first two movies. And I can't remember exactly where it started, but it is global. So they've had shows in England, in Australia. They've got a number of shows in the States. And the one I happened to see was the one that they held in Boston. And this is its second year. I didn't see it last year. I saw it this year. I have to admit, when I watched, any of the previews for it, they were playing up the sexy aspect of it. It's striptease, but it's not, they don't go all nude for those who would be concerned about that. But one thing that they do not say that I feel they should start to lean into is how hilarious it is. It's so funny. I was not expecting that. So, but yeah, I shouldn't say any more. We have some random topics, and Steve is going to roll for me to review The Empire Strips Back.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we run in, I just did a quick count. TheEmpireStripsBack.com if you want to find out where you can see it. 49 cities around the globe have had one. And apparently they are allowing people to nominate their city for the show to come. So check it out. We're going to hear Jeff's take on the show. We talked about it offline a little bit. I got to see a like an online review. But I'm interested to hear what you could say. So, as always, we generated the list. Don't know what the list is going to say. I don't have anything to say about it. But I'm going to roll for you right now. This is my Galaxy Quest dice. A 2, which is a typical roll for Stevie. A failed fortitude check. The Tauntaun sequence. A Luke Skywalker surrogate seeking warmth. A quote-unquote gross-out gamble. The act features a dancer emerging from a disemboweled and very glittery tauntaun, while clever, critics noted that it's a bit messy and occasionally kills the sexy vibe for the more squeamish members of the front row. So tell us about that.
So actually, we did pay up to be in what they call the Empire section, the Emperor section, which is the first 3 rows. We're in row 2. And this is the very first scene. The Tauntaun scene is the first scene. And it's operated by a puppeteer. So the Tauntaun actually looks really good, like the high quality puppeteer. You can see the human legs within the Tauntaun legs. And then it's being ridden by the stripper, Luke, although it's a female. And she does her striptease, but then she gets cold. And she uses her lightsaber to slice open the Tauntaun. Oh, the Tauntaun, meanwhile, also falls over and dies. It dies. And then she cuts it open, and the guts are made of cloth. This is not a gross out scene. I disagree with this. I thought it was hilarious. And that's what I mean. Like the way they portray this as if it's all just sexiness. And so maybe someone like thinking, oh, I gotta go see a sexy Star Wars striptease. And then right away they're like, oh, no, you're not. No, you thought you were doing that. You're not doing that. And then the Luke strips off her last bit of top, but back to the audience, and then covers her chest with the guts of the Tauntaun so that she's not fully nude. Yeah.
I think it's hysterical. I did watch a little bit of a review. It was a really strange review. It sounded like a kid who had never, I don't know. It was a kid who wasn't really a Star Wars fan, so I don't know why he was there to review it, except that it was a burlesque show, and I think he might have been one of those guys hoping for more.
Yeah.
One of the things he did call out, and I did see a lot of cool pictures of, were the set pieces like the Tauntaun. And there's a full-scale Jabba the Hutt puppet that's also
You
very,
can roll
very cool.
for that, man.
Well, we might. I don't even know. I honestly don't know if it's on the list. I'm sure it is. But I will say I did see some of those photos, and so it looked really, really cool. Okay, now
But
typically...
yes, the Jabba so hopefully this won't spoil anything, but since you've mentioned it, yes, the other massive puppet, even just massive. It's like it is what Jabba would the size of Jabba, and he's lip syncing Biggie's Biggie Smalls Hypnotize. It's so perfect. And with Slave Leia and that whole scene, it's awesome. That was one of my highlights of that whole thing was the Jabba the Hutt scene. It's the end of Act 1. It's so good.
And let's be honest, the Leia slave girl outfit was every geek fantasy. I mean, they even play it up in the TV show Friends with Ross and Rachel.
The funny thing is most of the scenes in this have striptease, but she can't take off anymore.
She's already in a bikini.
So even though she's dancing provocatively, Slave Leia in this, there's nothing for there's no strip part of it.
Well, and that's the fun of being a burlesque style show, right? The burlesque is body, it's sexy, it's not like you're not at a strip club. You're there to see a fun show that has sexy elements.
But once again, because they know sex sells, they advertise it like it is going to be like a full-on strip, sex show.
That's wild. All right. So typically I would do a second one, but as we said, I didn't get to see it. So we're going to roll a second time for Jeff. And hopefully we don't roll for Jabba the Hutt. 17. And it's the Jabba the Hutt rap. We're going to roll again.
That's hilarious.
Of course, I rolled the one thing we just added without realizing it. 19 this time. Successful charisma. Boba Fett, bumpy and grindy. The Guns N' Roses theme solo, the seductively dangerous, the Boba Fett act is the show's charisma peak. The combination of the iconic Mandalorian armor and the high-energy rock choreography makes it the most swoon-worthy moment of the night. What do you think? Did you like the Boba Fett bumpy and grindy?
So, yeah. What was interesting, though, is the Boba Fett, the Mandalorian armor was... I could tell it was a bit awkward. The giant helmet. She did something cool where she used the gun and it was a t-shirt gun, and she shot one of the Empire Strikes Back t-shirts out in the audience. Only problem is she was shooting from the balcony and it landed in the lights, and hopefully someone from the balcony leaned over and picked the t-shirt up off the lights. Otherwise, no one got that free t-shirt. But yeah, I did. I really like that, and that was good. That was a good one. I think the stormtroopers, though, which you kind of see in some of the advertising, that armor I think worked better. I think the Boba Fett armor was a little bit bulky, but she did, of course, it was a striptease, so she did take all that off, but left the giant helmet on. Kind of looked a little bit like Spaceballs, though.
Dark helmet.
The helmet was a little oversized.
We haven't done it. We should do a thing about Spaceballs too. I do have a question because, again, I've seen some of the ads, and I guess there's a segment that they allowed everybody to film a little bit of.
Yes.
And in the segment you showed me, the dancers didn't have helmets on, but in every ad they had helmets on.
Right.
So do they leave them on through the whole show? Like, are they dancing in these helmets the whole time?
No,
like,
I guess I should.
Obviously,
so what I should say,
the
structure of this is an anthology. So you're seeing different scenes from the first two movies, and and it's tied together through this hilarious host, Charlie Calrissian, Lando's nephew, who's got a dad bod, and he's so freaking funny. I mean, he's like, it's worth seeing the show just for Charlie Calrissian. And he's got this line where he's like, they don't let me strip, but man, I get this whole thing with the cape and the balls, they could really cape and balls. And it's so good. And so it's just a series of vignettes, and generally each character only gets one vignette. So, like, Boba Fett got one thing, and then we don't see Boba Fett again. The stormtroopers get their moment. their striptease moment, and then they're gone. Except at the
Oh,
very
okay.
end,
When they come
which
out.
they allow you to film because they do want this out on social media, so we could always drop some of it here, some of that content here to be fine.
Like we're doing right now.
We can yeah, so we could play it as part of this if it gets edited in. That's great. But in the final bow where the encore, they're to Rapper's delight, by the way, has Admiral Akbar coming out and doing his it's a trap. And he gets in there, and we got Yoda in there and all the other characters. But yeah, so generally each character only gets one scene.
Their one shot. Okay, that makes more sense. All right. Well, listen, this was a fun random review. I didn't get to see the show. Hopefully at some point I'll get to go, but definitely check it out. The EmpireStripsBack.com. And like, subscribe, follow us for more fun, goofy stuff like this. And we're going to jump on, but if you're just watching the random review, go back, catch the whole show, and we're going to jump into our Geek Flashbacks.
Let's take a trip through time. It's a Geek Flashback.
So this one is pretty straightforward, maybe even be a little bit of a short segment for us today, because we are talking Star Wars, but we want to kind of focus on May the 4th. So we talked a little bit about it before. Do you remember the first time you heard the May the 4th, like as a real thing?
So for May the 4th, my wife's birthday is May the 4th. So is on May 4th. This is, I know I didn't really become aware of it until we were together. So we've been together since 1996. So for dating, married in 98. And at some point along the lines, yeah, that came up, and it's kind of like, well, it's not really Star Wars Day, it's my wife's birthday. But yes, it's both. But as far as for Geek Flashback, Star Wars related, I do distinctly remember, waiting in line because you could not order tickets ahead of time. And this was an incredibly popular movie in, 77, right?
77 when it came out. Yeah.
And it was, you kids don't know how good you got it. We're doing a Geek Rant right now.
Yeah, don't rant early.
But we had to wait in line for that. And then you got whatever you got for a seat. If you're in the front row, head craning. I know I saw it more than once. My parents, obviously, I was 7 years old. So my parent, I was actually not even 7, I was 6. So, my dad was clearly a fan because he brought me more than once, or maybe one of my uncles brought me, or I know I saw it more than once. I loved it.
Yeah. In terms of the May the 4th of it all, I don't remember hearing that until, I've heard it, of course, but really in the last maybe 5 or 6 years for me. So I came late to the idea that it was a real date.
Yeah.
I might be tarnishing my geek badge a little bit here by saying that, but the idea to me that it was a real, I didn't know in 2019 that it was made a real holiday until I started doing more research, even if it's just in California. For me, I didn't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. In terms of actual flashbacks, same for me. We didn't see it multiple times, but I distinctly remember my father taking my brother and I. We were living in Brockton, Massachusetts. It was right before my 8th birthday. My birthday's on the 31st. It came out on the 25th. And that was my birthday present because I really, at the time, everything was TV driven. You saw the ads on TV, you saw the posters, and you wanted to go. And I distinctly remember the bar scene, that classic Tatooine bar where, all the famous music that you hear now for any Star Wars reference really came from. And it was the first time I remember being in awe of something like that. Like to go in and see a whole new world. Now, granted, I was also 8 years old, so it was probably partly the age. I
Yeah.
hadn't seen a lot at that point, but it struck me pretty hard to see
Yeah,
it.
and that Christmas, the action figures, like
Gracious.
it was the best. And I remember Darth Vader having the lightsaber emerge, like you had to
Slide it.
it slide it along his forearm, and it came out of his hand. I do remember that.
Do you remember when they were the size of the old GI Joes? Now this is a really deep cut. So when I was a kid, the GI Joes were like a foot tall.
Yeah.
They weren't the little tiny guys. Now most action figures, I don't remember when it changed, but in the 80s, 70s, 80s, maybe even into the 90s, action figures got tiny. Like even some of
That
the
was
ones
Star Wars that did that, I think.
But I must say, even the ones I got for Empire, that I had the Luke from Hoth, I had the Tauntaun,
You had
but
big
they
ones?
were, huh?
You had big ones or small ones?
No, they were all small.
Yeah.
But the
Star Wars
original
ones
Luke
were small.
Skywalker was
Yeah.
tall. He was like a GI Joe.
Oh.
Like from Star Wars, I had a big Luke Skywalker.
Oh no, I only had the smaller ones from Kenner.
Yeah, I don't
Kenner
know.
made small ones.
I wonder if it's too funny we think about it now, and we're going to talk more about the whole universe of it all. But in '77, they couldn't have known that this weird space anthology movie that they were making was going to do what it did. So I'm sure they were trying to be like, okay, well, the forms for GI Joe are built. Let's just use those, and we'll put Star Wars stuff on them, and we'll call them Star Wars figures. Do you know what I mean? And then Star Wars destroys the world, and by the time Empire comes around, they've now got their whole own line.
Yeah, maybe they couldn't keep up with the demand.
Yeah.
So they had to go to the smaller scale figures, which are now commonplace for an action figure.
Yeah, and they're all pretty standard that size now.
Yeah, because before because the whole thing's like hard plastic, the small ones, and the GI Joes, and I had a $6 Million Man that was big,
$6 Million Man,
and it was more like a Barbie doll or Ken doll where you actually had clothes.
Yes,
like it wasn't. Yeah.
Well, the $6 Million, and the reason I was talking about it because you mentioned the Darth Vader saber, but like in the $6 Million Man one. Because he had the bionic eye, it was actually like a little peephole. You could, and he had like rubberized skin on his one arm, so you could peel it back and see the circuit board on his bionic arm.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think they had the same for now. Obviously, Darth Vader, you couldn't take his helmet off because we didn't know what he looked like at the time. But the cape came off, everything came off. Yeah, such cool stuff. All right, but now, so obviously we like Star Wars, the original trilogy, some of the best still to me, some of the best stories, right?
Yeah.
Magic, wizards in space, however you want to look at it.
Cowboy in space, Western in space, with Han Solo. Yeah.
Oh my God. And some of the best lines in those first three movies.
I know.
Yeah. But we got to go to court because there's a problem with the other trilogies.
The fandom is divided. It's time for Geek Court.
All right. Our case for today.
Which trilogy committed the greater crime against the legacy of the original trilogy? Which were, to confuse everyone, and this is like, it's weird. Like, right from the get-go was Episode 4, A New Hope. Star Wars started with Episode 4. So when we say, prequel, we get that right from the get-go. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 were just skipped entirely by George Lucas, and he went right to Episode 4, A New Hope. So, and then we had to wait 16 years for the episodes 1, 2, and 3 to come out after 4, 5, and 6 were done. So 16 years of no great Star Wars content. It's, it wasn't great. And so we waited for this. And then we got what we got for the original trilogy. And we'll see what Steve has to say about that. And then, or for the prequel trilogy. And then we finally got a sequel years later, we got some more Star Wars movies from J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, and then J.J. Abrams again. Or is it Rian Johnson?
Ryan, I think it's
Ryan,
pronounced right. It
even
looks
though
like it's Rian, Ryan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams. And so what we're arguing in Geek Court today is a crime was committed. And who is the worst criminal in this? Is it George Lucas's prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3, which is Steve is going to argue that those did the most damage, or is it the sequels, the J.J. Abrams? It's 7, 8, 9. Yes, 7, 8, 9. So how would you like to start, since the prequels came first? I think you should tell me, why were they the worst of the Star Wars trilogies?
Yeah. The prequels, as you just pointed out, 16 years. Did you guys hear the way we just talked about the 1977 release of Star Wars and how awesome that movie was, especially as little kids? I think Gen X, our generation, are probably the most protective of those three movies, right? Because that's, especially at 7, 8 years old, which is what we were when these movies came out, they were just the most amazing things. And then 16 years later, we wait to find the prequels. And they were not good. They weren't horrible. They did give us more Star Wars, which is always a good thing. It allowed Star Wars to continue to grow, which has gotten us to where we are today, which is some really good content today. But I have, I'll try to summarize. There's a list of 14 things that are travesties. I won't use all 14, but I will tell you my tops. I said it before. It was magic. It was wizards in space. It was the Force. It was this unseen thing only certain people could tap into. It was the life force of the universe. And then suddenly it was a kid with some sort of midichlorian thing in his blood. And they tried to science it up. They tried to, I don't know if they were trying to make it more grounded in kind of a reality, which is a weird thing for me to be saying for Star Wars. But I know they tried to take the magic of the Force and give it a scientific basis, which felt really kind of cheating to me. Like, don't fuck around with the good. This is what we love. Don't fuck around. Like, this is part of the good thing. Darth Vader, arguably one of the scariest people that we knew growing up. Horrible. Just that sound, right? Yes. That sound terrified children because he was the biggest bad guy in the universe. And now he's just like a 12-year-old whiny little bastard. Like, he in that movie, like, yes, was the speeder racing cool? Yes, it was a cool visual effect, right? But the character, like, how does he go from that whiny little kid, even though they show you the progression, right? I didn't like it too much. And then, I'll do just this one more because I know I don't want to spend all night because I could. I'm just going to say Jar Jar Binks, right? I've said this before in other episodes. Not a fan of Jar Jar Binks. Not a fan at all. There is one other thing that in the last movie, when Anakin and Obi-Wan fight by the lava river and we see Anakin sustain the injuries, right? That he gets to need the Darth Vader suit. And you see him emerge in the suit. This is not a fucking spoiler in case you guys have never seen these movies. And by the way, Anakin is Darth Vader. I don't know if you knew that part, but this was just there was a weirdness between the special effects, because 16 years later, the special effects were much, much better, right? The visuals of all of the androids, and it was like amazing. And then they end with the 1977 suit of Darth Vader, which had the big plastic chest piece with just buttons that don't push. Do you know what I mean? It seemed weird. I understand why they did that. That I would have probably been more mad if they had changed the suit, but it just looked weird because we had really solid special effects in those movies. It was probably the only good thing about them. But then they drop into the look of the 77 suit. So I think those movies took the bloom off the rose. Like I think he made the right choice in 77 and starting with the story that he started with. I just wish maybe he had made it episode 1 and kind of forgot that they had a history. It seemed to me like he was trying to justify starting at episode 4 instead of just going, no, we're going to leave it. So what do you think about the following 3 movies?
All right. So I'm not arguing that the prequel trilogy isn't a steaming pile of Sith, because it is. However, what it has on the sequels is that it was world building and cohesive, which this sequels were not. They the very first one was member berries. If you for those who don't know what that is, South Park season 20, the member berries were Gen X nostalgia, making us like forget the world that we're in, and we're just, remember Chewbacca, remember Death Star, remember Han Solo, and so that's all we got. So the 7th movie was we're just eating the member berries. Oh, a Death Star. Yeah, we know that. We've seen that before. We got another one. Oh, we got a bridge scene with a father and a son. Yeah, we got that. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah. So it was just, 7th was just a bunch of member berries. And so they did a little reset. They're like, okay, all right. So you didn't just want us to recycle that stuff. So let's go in a very different direction. And we'll have Rian Johnson create something so different that Mark Hamill wanted to rename his character Jake Skywalker. This is in an actual quote. He's like, that's not Luke Skywalker. Jedi don't give up. This is a fundamental disagreement. He did not think that he was playing Luke Skywalker. So in his mind, he's like, I'm Jake. I'm just Jake Skywalker.
Jake Skywalker.
So, and then the whole it's the Vice Admiral Holdo rams a ship at light speed through the First Order fleet. It was a cool scene. However, one thing it does is basically say, well, couldn't they just have droids do this and just destroy the Death Star? Why does this have to be this grand sacrifice? We don't have to kill everyone to do this. Or a single human being doesn't need to die. Droids can just do this suicide maneuver. Oh, because it doesn't work in the science of Star Wars. So it's a reset. So then they're like, okay, let's go back to member berries. And so episode 9, hey, remember the Emperor? That the big sacrifice that Anakin has to destroy the Emperor? Remember that? Oh, it doesn't matter. No, we're just going to bring him back. He's just a clone. And we can do it whenever we want. And there's no good reason. I think like Poe actually says, like, just because. I can't even, I saw it someplace, like, how's he back? Oh, I don't know. He just is. It's just what happens. I'm sorry. I found them entertaining. I'm very glad we did just get the original trilogy and no Star Wars thereafter. But man, the sequels and the prequels should have done better. That's all we're saying.
Oh my God. And then, they kill Han Solo.
Yes.
And killed by his own son.
Yes.
Who then becomes good. It's like, all right, yeah.
And the thing is, and I know this isn't we'll get to this in the evolution, so I won't dig deep on it. But that's what I love about the new Disney Star Wars TV series. It's showing, there's great Star Wars content. You don't have to recycle it. You can have new stories. And even the prequel stories, Andor, which I know ties into Rogue One, which is a film, which was awesome. That works. I know it got a lot of crap, but I thought the Han Solo film was good. So I'm not against the prequel or concept of a prequel. I think it can work. Andor is an amazing series.
No, and then there was Ahsoka, which was a great show. And they just obviously we'll get into it probably in another episode because the new movie's coming out, but the whole Mandalorian thing, like they have the ability to have great content. I feel like they have these great movies. They decided we should do something else. Well, we started with 4. Let's go back to 1. Let's tell the history. People want to know the history. And I think they were enamored with their own myth and maybe the new special effects, which is why we got fucking Jar Jar. But I feel like they tried too hard and they screwed it up a little bit. People got pissed off. They waited a few years and said, okay, well, now we have to overcorrect back to what people loved. And we got a fucking pocket full of member berries. And so one quote I had was that this was the quote for the sequel trilogy. They killed Han Solo, sidelined Luke into a milk-drinking hermit, and made Leia's sacrifice meaningless. Yes. And it ended the Skywalker saga with a whimper. That was the quote I saw. And I'm like, yep, 100%. So I'm going to go on record and say we're both right. I think both sets of these trilogies did a disservice for different reasons. They both did a disservice. If listen, if you guys agree with us or don't agree, how you could not agree with some of this stuff is beyond me. But you could challenge us if you want. But I think the only good that these 6 movies did was to continue the IP of Star Wars into being purchased by Disney and to allow us to get where we are today with some of the content we're getting today. I think they were a bridge, a rickety fucking old bridge, but they were a bridge. But we're going to drop into the basement for some treasure.
Dust it off and geek it out, because it's a basement treasure.
They're digging in the wrong place.
I'm going to go first because mine's quick and easy.
Okay.
And it's a basement treasure, mostly only because I record from my actual basement. And this is where I'm sitting right now. I have with me, because I've also started another fun little geeky hobby of 3D printing. I printed this sign. You'll have to watch. I'll try to throw a picture of it up somewhere. It's just a Star Wars May the 4th be with you. Cool 3D printed. I just threw it. You can see the levels and stuff. And I use a Bamboo Labs A1 that my buddy sold me. It's such a great kind of cool toy. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to make some fun stuff for the show. So mine is not an old treasure. It is a new treasure, but it's quick. Jeff, I see you have a friend.
I do. I have a new treasure. This is OGD2. Say hi, OG. Can you hear it?
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. For those of you who are only hearing the whistles of R2D2 or OGD2, you have to get on and watch. This is an, 18 to 20 inch tall. It's a pretty big,
yes,
OGD2. It's pretty fucking cool looking.
And I have to thank one of our early listeners, loyal listeners, and a close friend, Liz. Liz, thank you for buying this R2D2 for me. We actually built it. We did you can build your own droid in Disney Hollywood Studios Star Wars Land at Walt Disney World, and she paid for that build, and it's fantastic. So what a great gift. It reminds me very much of those old having those old figures, which unfortunately I didn't keep any of them. Somehow none of them lasted the test of time. But man, it's my member berry. So member R2. So
do you know, it's funny. I don't know why this sparked this memory. So You talk about holding on to stuff and why we didn't, because I did the same. I told you I had all these, don't have them. And now this is stuff that would probably be worth hundreds of dollars for something we paid $1.50 for back in the day. So collectibles that we would have been able to sell. So in a weird sort of a tie-in, there was an episode of a TV show, I don't even remember when it aired, called Amazing Stories. I want to say it was late 90s. And they were all fantastical. It was sort of like, it was like the Twilight Zone, but everything was sort of a cool, it wasn't like creepy or it wasn't like Creep Show, but it was one of those shows where every week was a new sort of episode that had some mystical connections. And the episode that I'm remembering starred Mark Hamill, who as a kid has this almost like a leprechaun kind of guy, almost like a Rumpelstiltskin, who tells him to keep all of these things that when he's a kid, keep this and don't open it up and don't. In his whole life, he gets so focused on doing what this guy says that he lives as like a homeless guy almost. He's just like a hoarder. Nasty. And then at the end of his life, all of the stuff that he's been collecting and saving because this little gremlin told him to do it made him like a multimillionaire because he sold out all of these collectibles. I just think it was funny that it was actually Mark Hamill who played the role. And here we are talking about not having our Star Wars collectibles. Yeah, sorry. I just went off on a little memorabilia of my own. Which is a weird kind of.
We're eating the member berries today.
I had a little stroke, I think is what happened.
From floppy disks to streaming clicks, it's Geek Evolution.
But now we're going to get to some larger evolution. Well, we're actually, we're cruising right along here. Yeah. We've been hinting a little bit at it, but there's an evolution. You know, our Geek Court dragged us through the mud a little bit with the rickety crossover that took us up to 2019 when Disney took over. Do you remember what the first thing that Disney did was? I must have it on my list here.
The very first, well, they did the sequels. You mean the very first TV show?
Disney made they made like Rogue One and the Solo story, but did they make 7, 8, and 9?
All right. I guess we should double check because
Obi-Wan was amazing. The Book of Boba Fett. These are all things Disney did for sure. But I don't remember the first.
Yes, Disney produced and released Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. So yes, they acquired it at Lucasfilms in 2012. So yes, that definitely was them.
Now I'm a little less happy about that. I'm happy where we are now, but yeah.
Well, I mean, they trusted J.J. Abrams because J.J. Abrams, he had successfully rebooted Star Trek. I mean,
Yes.
not everyone was enamored with what he did with Star Trek, but I have to admit it was a departure. And I think the reason it was such a departure was because he really wanted to direct Star Wars. J.J. Abrams is a Star Wars fan more than a Star Trek fan. He was not, and so he brought more of a Star Wars feeling to Star Trek, with it being more about the adventure, not as much about discovery. Whereas Star Trek tried to avoid physical altercations and try to solve things, peacefully. That was not as much in the J.J. Abrams version. I mean, they had like that Beastie Boys sabotage, action montage.
Yeah.
I loved it. I actually loved the different direction, but so I had high hopes when J.J. Abrams took this over. I did like he made it a tribute band. And I like tribute bands. I'll listen to a tribute band, but they're not winning any awards. And I know I've joked with you, for instance, that because you do a good job of remembering famous comics, and I said you should do that.
Yes.
Should be your act. You just
Yes,
You're
you
a
have
cover
said-
comic. You're a cover
cover.
comic.
I should be like a tribute comic. Yes, I should go up and do like
Yeah, you
like
do
old
your
Louis
Sam Kinison
C.K.
and-
Do Sam Kinison? Yeah.
Hey, you
Yes.
knew all of Bill Cosby's stuff, and since he can't do it anymore or shouldn't, maybe
That's a whole other
you
thing.
could do Bill Cosby.
Bill, let's not say it that way. But Bill Cosby is one of the reasons I do stand up. Noah was one of the first comedy albums I ever heard. So there was a time before I was an actual stand up that I had memorized all of Bill Cosby himself.
Yeah,
I could
see?
literally do the entire album word for word. But yes, but here's the thing. And I agree with you. And I love J.J. Abrams' Star Treks, but I don't go, for instance, I could do the entire album, Bill Cosby himself, word for word, nuance for nuance, intonation for intonation. I didn't practice it. I didn't try to memorize it. I literally loved it so much and watched it. It made me laugh so hard that I just kept watching it over and over. But no one was ever going to go to a stadium to see Steve Scarfo do Bill Cosby, right? I loved that whole album. His personal bullshit aside, that was the deal. And that's what I think we got. No one went to see a tribute band. We went to see Star Wars. And we got Steve Scarfo doing Star Wars. And it wasn't the same. So I feel like it was a
Disney
misstep.
did evolve it into some successful content. They did.
Now, listen, we've talked about Disney a bunch on this podcast because they do have a lot of great content across the board, especially a lot of great geeky content, but they do course correct, and they do, if they don't hit it out of the park, if they have problems, the one thing I can give, I think it might have been Bob Iger at the time too, they don't rest on their laurels, and they don't defend if it's a bad choice. They move on. They take their corrections. They move on and do something new. And they absolutely have made that course correction. It's to the point where I didn't even think they did the other three movies. Like, I consider those so different that I didn't think that they had produced them. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how much of a course correction they've done. It's not hard to fool me sometimes, to be honest with you, but still, you know what I mean? They feel that different to me, that the content that we're getting today is so much better than those three movies were. But, all right, we're going to drop into our, I think we kind of did it, but we keep, we keep ranting while we're evolving.
Your kids don't know how good you've got it.
No, I have a rant. I want to go back.
Okay.
I think I've said this before, but I want to go back because I'm seeing new life on Threads and maybe in other social media. It's there too. The Acolyte is getting some love. The Acolyte is a great Star Wars content. If you don't want to keep seeing the same content, the Acolyte does something different. And I know for some people, even though they bitched and moaned about J.J. Abrams, just recycling content, they complained about the Acolyte being too different. So the Acolyte is kind of a prequel because it takes place before the events of Star Wars, before the original series. Quite a bit before, and there's like witches, and they use a different version of the Force. That's wrong. They can't have a different version of the Force. And then,
but midichlorians.
There's and then there's this Sith warrior, or trained, at least Sith trained warrior, where he's using his lightsaber in a different way, and he's fighting differently. And we can't have that. And he's got this this armor, and I can't remember the name of the metal, but it actually disrupts the lightsaber. It's actually a fragile metal, so had that been physically hit, it would crack, and they could defeat him. But they didn't know what they were up against, and so because it was so unique and new and different, I think that there was a bit of a backlash. But I'm seeing some new love for it, and so this is my rant, or my message to the new generation is, if you haven't watched The Acolyte, go and see it, because like Steve just said, Disney adjusts, and they might have said, oh no, we're not going to film that anymore because it was expensive. These are expensive shows, and the numbers just weren't there. Well, if the numbers get there, they'll create more content.
Yeah.
So watch The Acolyte. What you're seeing on social media, if you've seen the buzz like I have, that people are interested in this again. So please, that's my message.
And I'm going to jump on that too with you, because fans have gotten shows put back on the air. Like, there
Family
was Family Guy, but there was a post-apocalyptic show. I can't think of the name of it now. And it was a fun show. It was one of these where, oh God,
Was the guy the janitor? Is it that one? I can't.
No, there was one. Oh God, I can see the guy's face. Nuclear bombs had gone off, and electricity didn't work anymore, and there was all this stuff going on, and it only lasted like a season or two, and then it got shut down. But the fans supported it so much and wrote in and did what they needed, and it got put back on the air. I think it only made one more season, but they gave them that wrap-up season, and they finished the story, right? So 100% get out there and watch The Acolyte. We were talking about evolution. This is what we want. We've talked about it with other properties where I don't want to see you rewrite something I know. When we talked about the Wheel of Time, don't fuck up the story I like. Tell a different story. Our friend Kevin says this all the time. Don't screw up the story we know. Give us the story we know. And if you don't want to give us the story we know, give us The Acolyte, which is it's in the same world. We understand the mechanics. We understand the dynamics, but give us another story that we love. Ahsoka, same thing. I know that there was cartoon versions for Ahsoka, and I know that there were other stuff, the Bad Batch stuff I didn't actually watch, but that was also a great series set in the world of Star Wars, but just not no Skywalker stuff. It was just, well, not no, but you know what I mean? It was a new story. So absolutely don't poo-poo something different. Let them tell you a new story. Love the new story as much as you love the old one. Maybe 8-year-olds, somebody else tomorrow will go see the first season or watch the first season of The Acolyte and love it. But all right,
Absolutely.
we're a little long in the tooth, so we're gonna jump into some hits and fails.
It's critical hits and epic fails.
All right, I have a critical hit. So the Star Wars shirt I'm wearing is Star Wars Weekends. So when Hollywood Studios, MGM Studios at Disney World was first created, they had a small little Star Wars area, and they had these Star Wars Weekends, and then they've created a Star Wars land there now, and there's also one in Disneyland as well, and maybe in some of the international Disney parks as a Star Wars land. But I've only been to the Star Wars land in Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World. If you are a Star Wars fan and you haven't gone, make the pilgrimage. You feel like you're in the movies, and you can build a droid, you can go on the Millennium Falcon, there's this Rise of the Resistance ride that's amazing. It is an amazing immersive experience. And now the Star Wars weekend is a full Star Wars week, kicking off with May the 4th. So it's this week is like a Star Wars week there. So it's really grown. They've really leaned into it, and they built an amazing immersive Star Wars land. So that is my critical hit.
Yeah, I will say we went a few years ago, and what I remember walking out, and I don't know what they call the land, but it's that area where it's supposed to be the space dock, and you see the back end of the Millennium Falcon when you go into the ride, and it is amazing because Disney does immersion so well, and you just walk in and you don't even feel like you do feel like it's a whole other place. I don't want to re-say everything you just said, but I agree. It was fantastic. My hit, is I said it earlier. That first time I saw it, the original Star Wars, it's one of those core memories for me. It probably kind of started to settle the cement of my geekhood back without me realizing it. But that, it is just such a core part of my childhood. Like, I don't remember a lot from when I was 7, but I remember that day pretty well. And I'm going to go on to do a quick fail. I'm going to say 3 words to you, which I've said many, many times. Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, Misa. Misa Stevie is so annoying.
Yusa Saksa. That's what it is. Husa Misa? Yusa Saksa. Of course I could do the voice because I fucking hate him so much. Do you have a fail?
Well, actually, I just want to double click on Jar Jar Binks. Really, for Geek Court, you would have won had you just said Jar Jar Binks, but you went on this big thing.
I went on a tear.
And all you needed to say was Jar Jar Binks. That's all you had to say. But no,
so
you had to
annoying.
muddy the waters with some other points. But
awesome. Well, listen, may the 4th be with you, my OGs. Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, follow, check out the new merch. And we are going to continue throwing content your way, and we hope you continue to join us.
yes, thanks, OGs. May the 4th be with you. Go watch The Acolyte, and we'll be back with some more Star Wars with The Mandalorian in a few weeks.
Yeah, can't wait for that.